Hello, y'all. Hope you're doing well. Uh, you know me. So I know you guys have an admissions workshop coming up soon, and last year there were a lot of things that this workshop didn't go over. So I want to give y'all some information. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Uh, this has nothing to do with Lead. Lead has not asked me to do this. I am doing this uh, just because I want to make sure that you guys have the relevant information. So, what we're going to be talking about in these videos is essays. Essays you may be writing for your law school applications. So I'm going to go in kind of, I guess, reverse order of importance. So the first one I'm going to talk about is letter of interest, which is sort of actually, no, you know what? Let's back up. I want to talk about a different type of essay you might be tempted to write, which I would highly discourage you from writing. Um, if you have a GPA that you feel is low, or you have an LSAT that you feel is low, or maybe your first semester your grades were bad, you might be tempted to write an addendum explaining this stuff. What is? I don't know what's going on there. You might be tempted to write an addendum explaining this stuff. Do not do it. Number one, law schools don't care. The reason they care about your GPA and your LSAT is because of US News rankings, because US News cares about that stuff. So they are not going to treat you any differently regarding, like, in other words, think about it like this. If you imagine a student who has a 2.8 and it's totally not their fault versus a student who has a 2.8 and it is totally their fault, they're not getting treated differently. Law schools don't care. So they might pretend to care, they do not care. So that's part one. Part two, they don't know you, and you're kind of, by writing an addendum about what went wrong, you're kind of leading from a position of like, hey, here's my excuse for why I suck. Don't do it. Don't do it. Like, if you feel if you feel uncomfortable with your LSAT, you should try to get a higher LSAT score. If you feel uncomfortable with your GPA, you got to just make peace with it. I will say a lot of people feel uncomfortable with GPAs that they shouldn't. Anything above a 3 point is not a big deal in terms of like not bad. So I'm not saying it's amazing. I'm not saying if you have a 3.1 that's amazing, an amazing GPA, but it's not a big deal. It's nothing you need to feel bad about. And if you have lower than that, what are you going to do? So yeah. So no addendums. Okay. Now I want to talk about the letter of interest. The letter of interest is basically why this law school. And I want to talk about first off whether you should write it. And the answer is normally going to be no. No, you should not write about it. So let me talk about why you don't want to write it. Occasionally schools require it, and if that's the case, you should write something maybe very short. But if it's not required, you do not want to write a letter of interest. Let me explain why. Recall that law schools will give scholarships as a sort of negotiating tactic. Ideally, you are in a position where your numbers are like maybe better than what that law school is normally looking for. So they want to get you to go there. So they will negotiate with you by offering you a scholarship. If you write them a letter saying, I am in love with your law school. I've wanted to go to your law school since I was 8 years old. Here's the 47 things I love about your law school. They're going to, instead of thinking like, oh, maybe we need to offer this person money to get them to come here, they're going to think, oh, this person really wants to come here, so I won't offer them money. In other words, a good letter of interest makes it less likely that they will give you a scholarship. So, first off, if this is a school where you are potentially hoping for a scholarship, don't write a letter of interest. Okay. Now, where it can presumably actually help, is in scenarios where you're worried about not getting accepted. Um, if you are really on the fence, like if you are, let's just, in other words, generally speaking, they're going to look at your LSAT and GPA and they're either going to say, okay, we're definitely accepting you based on these numbers, or we're definitely rejecting you. And it's like not even close. But obviously, at some schools, you'll be close. And at those schools, it might help to have a good letter of interest. That said, I still would encourage you not to write one. What? Why? Because let's go back to what I just said a minute ago. It would potentially help if you're on the fence at a school, which, for the record, you should not be on the fence at most schools. So this would have to be a school where you know I'm kind of on the fence. But that's the first part. I said it would help to write a good one. Most of the ones I see are horrible. And this is a rule with law school applications. If it's an optional essay, writing something bad is worse than writing nothing at all. Let me repeat that. Writing something bad is worse than writing nothing else. So I want to talk about what a bad one looks like so you will see how hard it is to write a good one. So bad letters of interest, which are extremely common, um, generally talk about things that are totally not specific to the school. So they will say shit like, I like love the faculty. I think the faculty has a great reputation and the school has a great reputation and the students are really great. If you can say it about any school, then you're not saying anything. Let me repeat that. If you can say it about any school, then you're not saying, and you can say like the great reputation of the faculty, you can say that about any school. You can say that about any school. Um, and that's usually so then like you got to go back to like okay like well why what is something that I like specifically about this school, and you probably can't think of anything, so there you go. Now it might be the case that what you like about it is that it's like highly ranked and you feel like that'll help you get a job. Okay, that's honest. That's better than lying. If you're going to write a letter of interest, it's better to say, well, I really want to go to a high ranked school and this is a high ranked school. That is better to say than, oh, the faculty has a great reputation. But it's still not a good thing to say. It still doesn't make you look good. Imagine being an admissions officer and you're like, oh, okay, so they're just going to go to the highest ranked school they get into. Still not a good look. So this is my point. Um, oh, this school, I really want to do international law and entertainment law. And this school has an international law center and an entertainment law center. Those centers are all marketing schemes. Those centers are all gimmicks. Those centers are bullshit. And so when you talk about how that really appeals to you, you might be telling the truth, but you sound like an idiot. It's still not a good look. So again, what you should be taking away from this is you really, really, really do not want to write a letter of interest. Um, are there ways to craft a good one? Yes. Am I going to tell you them over this video? No, because I do not want 20 of you emailing me asking me to help you write a letter of interest. So, my advice, unless you're going to pay me to do it, which again, I am not recommending, I'm recommending just leave it the hell alone. But my advice is basically do not do it. Do not write a letter of interest. If it is required, like I said, some schools mandatory, send me an email and I will tell you what to write. But otherwise, stay away. Move on with your life. Okay. Part 2 and part 3 of this video series, I guess, are gonna cover um diversity statement and then personal statement.